Hi, I'm Josh Cadillac, and welcome to my podcast, Know Your Shit. I've been blessed to see great success, as well as seeing the bottom up close and personal in 2008. And if there's one lesson I've learned, is that if you want to have success and differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, you need to know your shit. As a successful real estate and crypto investor and an educator, it drives me insane that people do not immerse themselves in their craft. Everyone is so busy advertising and testing new sales techniques, they forget the most important thing, the product. Here I want to talk to the folks that got this right, the most successful people in the world in every industry. Bring them to you and find out what they learned in their business that made it great. When you listen to my podcast, you will know for sure that the topics and experts we have on have one thing in common. They know their shit. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show. We have a great show lined up for you. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to a really awesome guy, Mr. Joe Camberato. Did I kill that too badly, sir?
No, you did good. Usually, most people don't get it right, but you nailed it.
Hey,
thanks, Josh.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So, Joe, I could try to take and tell people what you do, but I think you're going to do a much better job of it. So tell everybody, if you would, what is it you do?
Yeah. So, I started out of my spare bedroom almost 15 years ago now, and have built basically a marketplace for business lending. When I got started, there was nothing like it. We really have moved into this amazing fintech platform where business owners can access capital very easily. You apply in one place. Digitally, it's super streamlined, very fast, very simple. We have over 75 different lenders on our platform, all around business lending, whether you need an SBA loan, a business line of credit, a term loan, equipment financing, AR financing, inventory financing, like you name it for business financing, it's on the platform. Through having great technology, a great simplified process, along with really great people. We've been able to secure $2 billion for business owners all across the country in all different industries, which has been pretty amazing.
That's fantastic. I mean, I know for myself, even with on the real estate side, when we go to do commercial deals, you're sitting there running around trying to find somebody that's got an appetite for this particular type of thing that you're doing. And, you might get 10 no's and you go to a certain lender and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that's just what we're looking to do. And so,
yeah. It's unbelievable, and it's amazing, and that's happening every day, and that's why I created the platform. I saw how frustrating it was for an owner to, they go to a bank, they get turned down. They go to another lender, they get turned down. They go to one lender, they get approved, but it's not the best approval, and it's not about even getting approved. Sometimes it's even just about getting the right approval. And, who's got the time? We're really a time-saving machine. We see thousands of applications every month, and lenders are constantly changing their appetite, Josh. So, all of a sudden there's a big industry change, and a lender goes, we don't want this industry anymore. You don't know that as a borrower, so if you're shopping around, that lender yesterday could have said, we just don't like your deal because it's just across your entire industry. But another lender down the road, so to speak, may love your industry, specializes in it, and they're really the right place. And so we've just taken the shopping around from lender to lender out of the equation. We do all that for you. We find you the best deal or multiple deals. We'll bring them back to you, go over them with you, and then you pick what makes sense for you and your business.
Joe, I got to tell you, man, I mean, I seriously, in the bottom of my soul, love what you're doing, because you know what you did? You did the thing I keep telling people to do in the business that I'm in, which is to think about the customer's experience first. What's it like to be the freaking customer sitting here going from bank to bank? Usually you almost have to hire somebody to take and go from bank to bank to plead your case and see if they got an appetite for this thing. You recognize the pain and you took and made it better, man. I love that. Love that. So
thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, if more people would do that, in talking with my brother one time, he said, capitalism keeps getting this bad rep that it's all about greed. He said, what the first thing you got to do to be successful in a capitalist society is figure out what somebody else needs and how you can get it to them better than they can get it someplace else, and then you'll get taken care of. And I was like, it's absolutely true.
And so, but let me ask you this, because I don't go too far down that rabbit hole, because I could easily hang out there for a little while. What got you started
Yeah.
doing this?
Yeah, I was in the consumer mortgage business prior to, and I was helping customers get whether refinance or purchase homes. I wound up having a ton of self-employed referrals, and all of those business owners kept asking me for business loans, and I just really couldn't understand. I'm like, why can't you go to your bank? And they would all explain kind of everything we just talked about, how it was so frustrating, challenging, time consuming. And one in particular owner, was like, don't you have all these relationships? Can't you ask one of the banks or point me in the right direction? So I went and did that for him. I was very interested in getting into the commercial lending side of things. So I want to do bigger deals. But I, brought his application to a lender, a bank, and they were a big restaurant. They wanted to open up another catering facility, very well known here in Long Island where we're located. And I went to this bank. They laughed at me. They said, "We'll never fund a restaurant." So I was like, "All right, but can you point me in the right direction, or someone? This makes a lot of sense what they're trying to do here." And he already has a great business. So he sent me to a private lender, who sent me to another private lender. Ultimately, I wound up, finding a home, finding the right lender, and getting them funded, and just watch their business grow. And right there, I was like, "Wow!" I'm like, "This is crazy." There's actually lenders out there that will, all they do is focus on business lending, that actually they will do it like they did this deal. He was declined from a bank, had no clue where to go. And I got him his deal done, and he was able to grow the company and do well. And I'm like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to help business owners grow by finding them the capital sources that they need. And this was back in, I started messing around this 05, 06, and then I formally incorporated in 2007. It'll be 15 years this December, and which is crazy. So at that time, my point is, a lot of lenders didn't have websites still. It was still if you weren't really selling things or doing stuff online,
Let me
you
go
didn't really need
fax
a
them the
website.
application. Yeah.
Yeah, we were faxing applications, and a lot of these, private lenders, where some of them are big companies, some are publicly traded. They got a lot of their business from advisors and accountants and lawyers and stuff like that. So if you didn't really have good relationships, or if your advisors, then attorney, accountant, whatever, then you really you probably didn't you didn't know how to find these these lenders. So I started bringing all those lenders to one place, and then streamlining the apply process, because that was a whole nother thing that was just a complete chaos. Everyone's application was different, and I mean, just filling out the application alone was fatiguing. Never mind having to do that 5 times, So
Absolutely.
it was just crazy. So I just kind of cleaned this whole thing up and pulled it all together. And I was really sourcing customers and then lenders at the same time. And it was out of my spare bedroom. I literally was one deal at a time.
Yeah.
I was the local consultant, and then I really saw that there was a real need, and then just started to hire people and really started to grow.
See, I love it, because I always that's the kind of business that grows, because the guy that you help tells somebody else, "Oh, you need a loan, you got to talk to my guy." I'm originally from New York, and when you got somebody that's good and they do good work, and you hear somebody else needs somebody, you say, "Hey, you got to use my guy," right?
Yeah,
that's
got
what
a
they
guy.
say. And so in my business, I'm always telling people, what are you doing wrong that people aren't saying, "Hey, you got to use my guy"? And so what's cool is you identified 2 people that wanted to hang out together, the borrower and the lender, who couldn't find each other. And you basically became Match.com for commercial business loans. That's awesome, man. Super cool.
I like that. I never looked at it like that, but yeah, we definitely became the Match.com for business loans. That's great.
There you go. There's the next marketing campaign.
Yes. I love it.
So where did all this success come from for you, do you think?
I mean, it's taken a long time, right? It wasn't built overnight. It was a lot of hard work in the beginning. Really for me, it's just hard work, staying focused, sticking with it. And most importantly, my mindset. I'm a very big believer with with that stuff. I mean, when I got started, incorporated 07, went right into the 08, 09 financial crash. I mean, it was very scary. Had my house on the line, credit cards, 401k, every dollar that you can imagine. Almost lost my home building the business, but really stuck, with it. And it all really came down to my mindset and staying focused. And then, really realizing I continue to understand this more and more, that it just takes time to build anything, great and good. And it didn't really come together for me to like years 5 and 7. And it was really like year 7 where it like really started to come together. And if you would have told me that before I got started, I never would have believed you. I would have said, yeah, I'll have this figured out in 1 to 2 years and be rock and rolling. And, a year is just not a long time. So just,
No,
it,
it goes by so fast, man. It does.
you can only do so much,
Yeah, it's greatness, excellence has to be pursued, and it has to be pursued relentlessly, because everybody says they want it, but you got to thin the herd by continuing to go when everybody else starts to quit. That's the only way that you're going to get there.
Well, that's it. And it is a relentlessness, Josh. I mean, that's like honestly the best word for it. It's a ruthless relentlessness. And, everyone wants it, wanting it and doing the work are two different things. And, the end results all seem great, and we all look at end results of a lot of people. But no one really, it's like you see the player in the field, you don't see them at practice, and the
Sure.
lifelong commitment. And when I got started, I mean, I was working till midnight, 1 a.m. and then at the office at 7:30, and just rinse and repeat, and weekends, nights, a lot of sacrifices. I was young when I got started, but my friends were going out, having a party, having fun, and listen, I had my share of that. It was all good, but there was a time where I put all that stuff to the side and just dialed into the business. And it takes that relentless work ethic, especially in the beginning, to get momentum going. Momentum is so real, and
It is.
and it's not an easy thing to get going. And even going through COVID recently, momentum got, our momentum got beat up a little bit, and we had to get that momentum going. So I just, really relived, because I always talk about momentum and how real it is, and just really experienced how real it is, because it kind of got, COVID stopped all lending overnight, which was crazy. Lenders didn't know, what was going to happen. And then, obviously it's picked back up tremendously now. So we just went through a whole period of that. But in the beginning, when you don't have your processes together, your structure, your sales, your marketing, your accounting, all these people in sync together, it's really hard to get that going. That was one of the hardest things.
I love one word that you used back at the beginning, when you just a little bit ago, you said ruthless. And I love that word, because I know how you mean it. People think of business as being ruthless. You're talking about being ruthless with yourself. You're taking
100%.
no
Not
excuse.
with other people.
Yeah, not with other people. No, I kick my own ass. Business is, you're
Yes.
right,
Yeah.
business is ruthless, but we have to be ruthless with ourselves. We have to, no, you're not going to bed. No, you can't have a day off. You have to get your ass back out there, and you have to perform, because this thing isn't going to do itself. And that buying into that mindset of, I've got to grind. And that's my job, is to sit there and grind and do it for all it's worth. That's the only way it gets done, man. I love that, man. I love that. And you're right, man. The stuff, that the landmines that get thrown in our way along the way. You're doing everything right. For me, 2008 came along. I was long. You ready for this? You want to talk about genius? Long in commercial real estate, leveraged about 75% LTV, and in restaurants. I got destroyed.
Oh, wow.
And commercial, no less. Commercial mini bay warehouse. So all of my tenants were like supporting the housing industry. So I went from overnight 100% occupied with a waiting list to like 65% occupied with a bunch of tenants that couldn't pay on time and can't make the debt service on my loan anymore. And so, you're in a fairly well hedged, nicely positioned place. And then the black swans come home to roost. And because of somebody else. I mean, look, I didn't do anything wrong. I did everything right. And so you could make excuses, or you could take and do what you need to do, be ruthless with yourself, and say, okay, let's go again. And that's what has to happen. So yeah, man, I agree with all that good stuff. What do you think, Joe? What do you think makes you good at what you do?
I think having, just understanding people. I think I just I think just there's a lot of mutual respect running around my company, and it's a core value of ours. And just being human with, with my staff and team, and having a good emotional, like, IQ, I think is
Mhm.
really, really important. I think, I think it gets missed by a lot of owners. And, we've got an amazing culture here, so we've really put a lot of time into building out a great culture, great people, and just understanding people and being able to relate, get along, and motivate people in a positive way. I think, those are really my strengths.
Sure. And so in keeping with that idea, because I mean, a lot of people have those abilities. What do you think gives you that edge? What creates the edge for you, that drives you, that makes you want to do this? Because I mean, lots of people would like to be in your position. What do you think
Yeah.
makes you
Yeah. I
different?
think, I think, I, I, I think I am good at, trusting in people. Like, if you break trust, it's a big problem for me, then it's probably going to be very hard to get it back if you ever, I don't know if you ever will, but I give people the ability to go and do it, and I'm able to, like, release control of things. Now, it took me a lot, like, I've gotten a lot better at this, but really, in building any business in a company, you've got to be able to, trust in people, release control, and allow them to go and do it. And you got to give them the confidence to go and do it. And I think I really do that well, is, trusting people, put people in place, and being able to remove myself from things that I shouldn't be involved in anymore.
So,
And
so
that's
like
not an easy thing.
delegate with autonomy kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I give people really the ability to kind of do their own thing. I've gotten a lot better at delegating, but that's something that you have to just consistently do. You have to keep replacing yourself, and
Oh man. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and it's not easy. There's things in my business that I thought no one could ever do. Only I can do this. I know this. It's so unique and different, and those things, multiple people have done at this point, in the life cycle of the biz. So yeah, I think that's really, really important, and just keep taking out the ego. Like, I've got no ego, um, and you know, I think that's really big. I don't think people, appreciate that, or take to that, and I think, ego can really get in the way of you doing, better.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, I love what you said there just a second ago, because it's a lesson my father told me a long time ago. It's one of the most important things that you're going to learn to do if you ever want to build any kind of a real business, is how to take and replace yourself, how to duplicate yourself. Because there's only one you, and you want to becoming your own bottleneck in your business.
Yep.
And you got to get away from that. And so, you have to figure out what the things you do are, that you do well, that you do with excellence. And first, strip off all the other stuff that keeps you from doing that thing with excellence. And then train other people to do that thing you do with excellence, to get them out there doing it almost maybe even better than you. But you got to get them out there doing it. You got to find the people that are going to take and make this happen. And so, weeding through the people and find the kind of people that have what it takes, because finding good people is a challenge in and of itself. You have to go through some dogs to get some good ones, in my experience. Um, that's a piece
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
a
You
hard,
got,
it's the hardest part of it. Every business is a big people game. Even if you're a tech business, you still have people. You need people to run the tech, and just getting and understanding people. It's really the biggest part of it. And it there's a lot of things that I've done really well in my business, but I've hired some great people, and some of those people do those certain things way better than I do. And I tell them that, like, I'm not even afraid to admit that. That kind of goes back to the ego thing.
yeah,
Like, hey, I've done this, I've built this team, but you do a better job at managing people than I do, in this situation. I don't have a ton of patience. I've learned to
yeah.
have better patience. And so, I think that's definitely, it's so true. And I think there's a lot of owners out there that, you know, people says, oh, no one can do things like me. And, like, well, yeah, no one will, because they aren't you, but some might actually do them better than you. And some might do them at 80% as good as you, but that's okay too. Like,
That's enough.
it doesn't need to be like, everything doesn't need to be like you. And once I got that and really respected that, and also really, like, I think too, when you're early on in your biz, you try and hire like as many people like you as possible because you think that's what's going to work. And
Yeah.
it's like the worst thing. Like when I look at my management team, no one's like me, and I love and really respect that. And we talk about it. Like I bring this up and joke with them, like, thank God we don't have a bunch of me's on this team because it would be complete chaos. And there,
Absolutely.
it'd be everyone running around, with this big vision and
And
no one
nobody
pumping
put
the
this.
brakes or
Yeah, nobody tightening the bolts on the tires. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly right. So it'd be a problem. So
It's
you
nuts.
don't want that.
And the worst thing is a lot of times you'll hire people that are different than you, and those types of people drive you nuts, but it's exactly what your business needs at the same time.
Yeah,
Like
exactly right. Yeah.
the accountant that's constantly pumping the brakes on you. And no, wait a
Yeah.
second, we need this form filled out. Yeah, but this, yeah, no, it's a thing. It's a thing, but it's part of it. It's part of the maturation process as a boss is that because there's kind of, I don't want to say it's the imposter syndrome kind of thing, but you start a business and you're doing okay. And you feel like you got to be the best at everything in there in order for it to take and still be your baby. And there's kind of this learning, as you said, to kind of shed the layers, because look, you're the one that started the whole thing. If everybody else was like you, they'd go out and start their own thing, but not everybody else has got that in the tank. So the fact that you even started and put it in a place to be there is a reason why you need the seat at the table. It takes a little while. It does take a little while to kind of get that, but it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
So what are the most important things you've learned in the process of doing what you do? What are the big lessons?
Lesson. I think well, the time thing is the one, like really to create big things, it takes time. I look at things in 5 and 10 year cycles now. And really having more patience and understanding that, because sometimes you do things, you don't see those results, and you can get really frustrated and stop, and so or stop too fast or give up too quickly. So just really sticking with it. It being prepared. Things can change at the drop of a dime. Talks of recession or this or that, like. You look back at 08, 09, look back at COVID, it was like from one day or 1 week to the next, the whole market can change on you. I learned this a lot from like living through and up to the 08, 09 recession. I was in the mortgage business. So, if you were doing commercial real estate, so you'll get what I'm saying. Like there was this period where everyone was doing really well and everyone was having a party. And one thing I've always said, and I stick to, and it's done really well and really helped get through COVID, is when times are good, it's not time to have a party. It's time to double down on what's working well.
Yep.
And I think it's just very natural as a person, and whether you own a business or work for a great company, when times are good, everyone wants to just go and have fun. And they're taking their eye off the ball. Maybe they're not saving, maybe they're not investing, maybe they're not, working that extra hour or Saturday because life's good.
Yep.
But when life is good and things are good and you've got an opportunity, that's when you want to really double and triple down on what you're doing. And whether it's save and set your, for the future, save for a rainy day, make some extra money, put it to work elsewhere. Like when things are going well is when you want to like hit it really hard. And when things are really bad, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. You might as well just, you almost gotta, like when COVID happened and all lending stopped, like there really wasn't anything I can do. There were things that we did, and there was things that I needed to do to get through it. So I wasn't like going down to the beach every day, but there was there was nothing to double down on,
The opportunity to double down was taken off the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when, you live in a good, when you're in an up economy, things are going great. People kind of just, things are kind of easy. Things are going good. Everyone thinks they're a genius, but no, you're just in an up market. It's easier to make money. That's when you should be, hitting it hard.
I keep saying, we'll see now. Now, when you hit a bear market, you actually have to be good to make money. When it's a bull market, you throw a dart at the board, and odds are that's going up. And so a lot of people lost a lot of capital in the last period of time. And I've experienced what you're talking about to some extent. When I first started my investment fund way back when, as I came out of 2008, we started recovering, started buying up a lot of real estate. I opened a real estate investment fund, and we were doing really, really well. And we're like, we're good. We're good. We're good at this investing thing. And so we started expanding out of just real estate and doing other types of investments. Should have doubled down, should have stuck with the real estate stuff. I sit here and look at what the portfolio could have been if we had, I mean, we did okay in the other stuff, but the real estate stuff we were really, really good at. We were getting, buying non-performing mortgages back then, doing really, really well, good stuff. And we started to believe the press releases were like, hey, you know what, if we could do this, I bet we could do great here. Well,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's definitely, I know exactly what you mean. And I think if you're, an entrepreneur and you've done well, I mean, we've all tried to venture into other things. I know I
yep,
have, and they're freaking landmines and time killers. Like, and they're time killers, and money sucks. They just
yep,
really suck your time and money. And you kind of get in this like, wow, like I've been able to do this so great. You think, anything you touch will turn to gold. It's, I've had to learn that the hard way myself too. And just, that's why I just stay focused on what my core is. There's other things that I'll invest in and dabble in.
sure.
But it's not taking away from my time or focus,
Right. I'm more passive, taking a passive role, and
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, I
Otherwise,
agree.
I call them, like, I don't know if you ever watched that movie, but it's a kid's movie, and the dogs go squirrel. Like they're
Yep.
like, I call them squirrels. Like it's
Absolutely.
like up squirrel. There's squirrels everywhere, and especially too with me just being like nonstop all over the place, and I see like opportunity in everything. I really gotta put my blinders onto my squirrels, and I talk about this with my team too. Like, we'll joke around. Oh, that's a squirrel. Like, let's leave that alone. Let's stay focused. Or I'll have an idea, and they'll tell me it's a squirrel. But you gotta watch
Yep.
out for those squirrels.
Watch out. There you go. There's the big takeaway. Watch out for the squirrels. Squirrel
Yeah.
crossing. We're laughing, but it really is. I mean, all the opportunities lost chasing the squirrels, man. And that's a great way to do it. I'm probably stealing that. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, no, wrong with it. Please do.
But so, Joe, let me ask you this, but what makes you passionate about what you do? It seems like you love it. What makes you passionate about it?
I just have a real, true respect for entrepreneurs and business owners, and we help them access capital so they can grow their businesses. I mean, I think I had, I think I do so much because I started this thing from zero. I know what it takes. It's not easy. I mean, I really look around, like this whole country, 90+% of it's driven on small businesses, and these companies that we help are providing other jobs. They're growing, and it's making this country that we live in really an amazing place to be. So really just a true respect. And if I can help, for me is owners accessing capital, and now as I have started this whole Grow by Joe thing, and I've been putting out a ton of videos, content. It's all about helping owners grow, whether it's accessing capital, also sharing some of the things I've done along the way, to hopefully maybe avoid some mistakes that I've made so they can grow faster, better. That excites me, and our whole country is driven on business, so it's really important.
Absolutely. That idea of making the pie bigger. It's a great thing. I mean, when you consider, as I say all the time, this is a nation of farmers a couple hundred years ago. How did it get to be
Yeah.
the way it is? Because people had gray matter between their ears that they put to work, and they had access to capital. And between the access to capital and the idea, they put those two things together. And next thing you know, a business gets built and the pie gets bigger for everybody. And that guy now has to hire two people. Well, guess what those two people have? They now have wages, which means they can go qualify for a mortgage so they can go live in a home. And I mean,
Yep.
it just, everything builds on itself. And
It's
now those guys,
compounds.
absolutely, those guys build up some equity in their home. And that one of those guys has got an idea himself. He takes some bars against the equity in his home, starts a business himself, and wash, rinse, repeat. It's a beautiful, beautiful life cycle that makes wealth come from basically the one true natural resource in the world, which is the gray matter, the ideas that we have in our heads. Nothing else works without that. So those two
well
things
said.
coming together. Yeah, man, ideas and capital. They are the true bedfellows that make an economy go.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about too, look at what's changed in like just the last 50 years.
Oh my God.
And even and then just 10, 12 years ago. I mean, or now it's probably 15 years, but the iPhone came out in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Like think about the things that have changed, companies like Uber, Amazon, the way we like just the way that we run our lives. Like there's so many things that have, changed because of these ideas. And really, having the access to capital, as you were saying, it's we were talking about this prior to the podcast, that book that I'm going to check out. But just, living in this great country, the access to capital has given us the ability to do all these amazing things. And I really think it's just I think it's just all really getting started, and really is going to start to compound. You look at how many how much the wealth has changed, just in this country, in the last 20 years alone. It's really amazing.
Sure. No, I mean, one of my favorite guys to read, and I don't know if you ever check him out, but there's a guy by the name of Thomas Sowell, and he's an economist and very, very smart guy. Like, he's the kind of smart that he writes economics books for like normal people that hate economics. Like, it's all
Right.
analogy, but he was like the head of economics at a major college, and like brand name. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. Sowell. But he talks about, they keep talking about how the wealth is isolated to this percent of the community. He said the problem is the people in that group aren't the same people. They say it's this small percentage of the population, but that those people keep changing. There's only a handful of people that actually stay in that very top wealthiest group. The people going in and out of that top income earning group are constantly changing because people go to college. You don't make any money in college. Guess what? That group's in poverty in the statistics because they don't make any money, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and so
That's interesting. Yeah.
oh, if you really want a very interesting, because here's the thing, you and I both have seen how the system works and how it rewards people that try to add into the system. And that's what gives us a respect for this country and the things that it does so well, the way that it builds wealth and gives people access to wealth. The people that are on the outside that refuse to participate in the system, that refuse to bring their ideas and their labor and their effort to market, are usually the ones sitting there complaining about it. And we have this beautiful, beautiful system that rewards people so well. And it's a shame. It's a shame that more people don't respect it, because I know that the business I work in, I did with a lot of immigrants, and they come here and their eyes just get the size of dinner plates at like all the opportunities that there are, all the wealth, all the stuff that you can do. And yet I see people that are from here and they're like blasé, like, oh, the system's broken. Have you tried? Try using it.
It's insane. It's easy to complain and blame, but I think too, it's really important. And what I plan to do with my kids is kind of get them out there a little bit, whether it's just within our own country, but really just different parts of the world. And I've traveled to some different places, and you really get to see firsthand what we've got going on here. You go to some countries that aren't as developed, and it's a whole life changer, and you just have respect for the silliest things: water, roads, being able to work at so many different places, start a business. Like, even if you don't, not everyone's meant to start a business,
Right.
Some people are very big pushers about that, on YouTube and stuff, everyone started it. Like, starting a company is not for everyone, but there's so many other things you could do without, starting a business and do really well. And
Pursue excellence. Yeah.
there's just so much opportunity here, and all you got to do is be proactive. And it's like, if you seek, you'll find. I mean, it's out there, but you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to work hard. You got to take some risks. You got to, whether it's starting a business or a career, and you just got to make it happen. But if you sit around and complain, I mean, nothing's going to change for you.
Well, I mean, I think that it circles back to that idea of pursuing excellence relentlessly and ruthlessly.
Yep.
That lesson of learning to be hard with yourself and make yourself look. You don't have to be an employer. You don't have to be a boss to pursue excellence. Why wouldn't you want an excellent life? Why wouldn't you want to be excellent at the thing you do? I mean, so many people use work as kind of this thing they have to almost survive on a daily basis, and it's drudgery. I love going to work. I love what I do. And so why wouldn't everybody want that? And the path to that is to actually appreciate and respect what you do and do it as well as you possibly can. Anything short of that, man, you're selling yourself short, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that and agree. And it's I guess it's not for everyone.
It's not. I mean, some people do like to, and we've become a, we've definitely made for a mainstream blame sort of avenue for people to go down. Like if you don't like the hard work, relentless work ethic, the attitude option, there's this other option here where we are also giving you all kinds of praise, and it's acceptable to just sit there and complain and blame that you don't have what you want. And I don't think that's good. I think it's dehumanizing for people. I don't think it's really good. But anyway, I want to get back to a more important topic because I got a question for you that I'm really curious about though. What are you most proud of in business and in life? Two different questions in there. Most proud of in business, what are you most proud of in life?
Kind of in business, I think it's creating an amazing place that's been and creating an amazing culture here. But proud of that. It's not only made myself successful, but others successful. And there's over we have 70 plus internal people, and then external people that work for us. I mean, all being able to create something from zero and seeing people, be able to, come here, work, make a living, do well, and be happy while they're doing it. I mean, that's really amazing. You start to see people, get married, have families, buy a house, and it's like, wow, like I don't. Someone mentioned that to me recently. Like, look at all the things that you're providing for so many people. I never really think about that, and it was a
Sure.
really proud, really proud moment. So that's been really great. And I think personally, just I have a really great family. Awesome wife, great, beautiful, healthy kids, and just really enjoying the time with them, and is really amazing. And I don't think it gets really much better than that. Um,
Sounds like you're
you know,
winning on all fronts, my friend. That's awesome, Joe. I'm really happy to hear that, man. Those are two great things. I mean that really stepping back and recognizing that your bedroom project has grown into something that has allowed for so many people to experience so much. You've provided a place for people to work and security and all that kind of stuff. It is a sobering thing because usually the head is down, straining at the plow. I know I've been a business owner my whole life. It's just you keep grinding, you don't look
yeah,
left, you don't look right, you just
just go.
go. And so it's nice and sobering. I mean, but yet I don't know about you, but for me, I almost am afraid to hear stuff like that because I don't want it to like make me passive. Like, oh yeah, look at all that I've done. Because I want to get back in the harness and go.
So yeah, it's funny you say that because there's, and I'm big with Tony Robbins. I've done a lot of his events, his platinum partnership, mindset. And one of like a big takeaways from one of his things, was, like you can be like playful and happy and appreciate what you've done. It doesn't mean that you'll not, like not be motivated. And and that was like a big thing, like, because like, you just hit it hard, and you're like, you don't want to appreciate
Yep.
or slow down to like, celebrate because you're like, oh no, whatever, I got to keep going because someone else is going to eat my lunch. And I think I've been getting a little bit better with this and been trying to focus on it where it's like, really appreciate what I've done. Take the time to stop, think, be grateful. Um, and by doing that, it like makes me happy, which gives
Yep.
me like the motivation on what I need in order to keep going. But I still have to remind myself on it. And even just sitting here, you talking, it was nice to, even think about those things for 2 seconds and just go, oh wow, like, because the reality is you just keep going, you keep pushing.
Yeah.
It's
I
nice
mean,
to stop
there's
and think.
also almost this little bit of being afraid that if we let up, we're not going to be able to get back out there and go the same way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know if you're like me. There's kind of almost always this little fear that there's that lazy fat kid that lives inside, and then if we let him out, to sit there and just have a cannoli and look at all he's done, he's going to want to sit there and eat the whole box, and I'm not going to be able to get his chubby backside back in there again and get him
Yep.
going.
Yep.
And
It's a
so,
balance.
yeah, it is. It really is. And
Yeah.
that healthy fear, I think there is that healthy fear. Like I don't want to backslide almost and become less than what I've worked myself into. And so, well, let me ask you this, Joe. What one piece, if you could give one piece of advice to the people listening here, what would it be, man?
Well, I just wanted to say your last comment. If you gave me a box of cannolis, I might sit and eat the whole box. But so
There you
don't
go.
eat the don't eat the whole box of cannolis would be the funny one.
There's the big
Uh,
life lesson. Don't eat the whole box of cannolis.
But yeah, if I one piece of advice to give anyone really would just be focus on your mindset. Your mindset's everything. Um, and it just takes it takes time for good things to happen. And don't be afraid to take some risks. And things don't things won't happen overnight. But stay focused. None of this stuff comes easy. I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs, just like yourself, Josh, and everyone's got their story, and everyone's got their challenges. Everyone's had life things happen to them in their business and in their own personal lives. There's been so many things that have happened to me along the way that have kicked my business in the ass, that have kicked me in the ass personally, that you would, if you heard some of them, you'd be blown away. And the biggest thing that's helped me keep going is just constantly focus on my own mindset, in order to give me the confidence and put myself in that right, good state to keep moving through.
Yeah, no, I mean, I tell agents, because I teach real estate all over the country. And so I tell agents all the time, you're going to get down. You're going to have days where you're like, why'd I get out of bed today? And you need to have that break glass in case of emergency plan in place. What am I going to do when I get down? I mean, for me, there's a couple of YouTube videos that I take and throw back on that just, get me back in the headspace to move forward. But what's going to happen. Life's going to kick you in the butt. So be ready, be ready and have your ammunition loaded up.
Yeah. And keep learning and growing. I mean, that's my big thing. It's why I started Grow by Joe. I'm committed to lifelong learning. Things just change constantly. You got to keep learning and growing. I think all of that stops when you die. You see a lot of the older generations, folks in their 60s, 70s that just thought when they got to a certain age that it all kind of stops. And the reality is it really just, I don't think that ever stops. And I don't think it needs to or should. So I think that's really, really, really important, and keep moving. I think exercise, meditation and learning have all really helped me tremendously. Without that physical activity, and it's like, I think as I get older now too, the biggest thing is just having the energy to keep doing this stuff, so,
Yeah.
Eating good, working out, moving. I think those are some of the most important things in order for me to keep going, and at 15 years doing this, I feel like I'm just getting started. I wouldn't feel that way if I didn't focus on all these things that I've talked about, and in our show today, Josh. It's like all the different things I've talked about. I do them. I don't just say, "Hey, do these." I'm not doing them. Like everything I've shared, I'm just sharing to you what I'm doing, and if I wasn't doing them, I'd be exhausted.
Yeah, and I hear that, man. I mean, I think it's actually back to a balancing thing that you were talking about, because there's kind of that ruthless relentlessness with ourselves where we just keep continuously, cracking the whip on ourselves, but also recognizing that we are our chief piece of production equipment, and that we have to make sure we take ourselves in for the oil change. We got to make sure that we're maintaining ourselves to keep us into a place where we can actually not let ourselves down, where we can be the asset for our business we have to be. And so that means while we push ourselves hard, we still have to take that step back and make sure that we're exercising, that we're taking and praying or meditating or doing whatever we need to do to take and be in that place that we can get out of ourselves when we need to. The idea that what was it, the industrial engineers came in back in the coal industry when they were watching people shovel coal, and the first thing they did was standardize the shovels for everybody. And then the next thing they did was they realized that if you shovel coal for 50 minutes and took a 10-minute break, you actually shoveled more coal in that 50 minutes than if you shoveled coal for 60 minutes straight. And so they actually gave everybody a 10-minute break every hour, because they understood that the best way for the machinery to work, the people, was to actually take those breaks and keep the equipment running the way that it needs to. So while there's a place for being hard on yourself, it can't be to a fault where you break yourself down too. And that's maintaining that balance in my mind. I don't know if you agree with that, Joe, but it sounds like kind of a summary of what you just said.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And And I think, too, there's always like this talk of like work-life balance. I don't think any of it's ever truly balanced,
No,
but you have to constantly keep balancing. You
rebalancing the
got like,
portfolio.
yeah, exactly right. It's like, and your portfolio of yourself in your life, and your the personal side of it, the business side, the health side, the eating side, the exercise side, all of those, your friends, like you got to constantly
Absolutely.
keep balancing all those things. And sometimes they're, in sync. Sometimes one of them falls off. There's this exercise we do, like the wheel of life, and you really list out all those things in your life, your business, your personal life, relationships, and you start filling in, filling out those things of where you are in like a scale of 1 to 10. And it's really interesting to see. And then it's like, all right, cool. This is where we need to put some focus.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So let me ask you this, Joe. What's next for you? We've talked about the past and the present. What's next for you? What's the next project?
Yeah, I mean, the next thing for me is continuing to just build and grow the company. Um, we're approaching 2 billion funding. I want to hit 4 and 5 billion, which is really great. But really, for me now, it's just building my personal brand, Grow by Joe, and really just helping other people grow their businesses, whether it's faster, smarter, um, through capital and just helping. So I'm really excited for that. And my goal is for me to be the most sought after guy that you go to when you need money and you want to scale and grow your company. So that's my goal.
Everybody says they need money. You want to be the guy. I'm that
Yeah,
guy.
I'm the guy. I'm the money
You're
guy.
the guy. I love it, man. So last real question for you. What do you do to unwind besides cannolis?
Yeah, I try and avoid the cannolis. I really like getting outside, and being in nature. And especially when it comes to the weekends, I try and get outside and do something. I live in a beautiful place in Long Island. There's some really great places outside, little trail, little hike, bike ride or whatever. I just try and get outside and in nature, and then spend some time with the kids and the fam. But just getting outside and getting, just it's amazing. Like in the last few years, like especially like the last 3 years, just getting quiet and a little alone time has really been really peaceful for me, man. And I've been doing that, especially in the summer when I can get outside. I'm not freezing my ass off.
Yeah.
I'm out there enjoying it.
So I'm the place that all of you folks from the Northeast have come, and Southeast Florida over here. So that whole too cold to go. I have the too hot to go outside, but then again, you guys have had that recently too. So I don't feel like there's much of a disadvantage there. We definitely went in the winter time. In fact, when I had my restaurants, I had brought a bunch of people down from upstate New York. And as cold as it gets in New York, upstate New York is its own special kind of icebox.
That's a different cold. Yeah.
That is it's a completely different thing. But they made some great pizza up there. So I brought these guys down. And I remember it being New Year's Eve, and they're taking pictures of themselves in the swimming pool and sending it back to people up there in New York. So it's just hilarious. But last question. Joe, if folks need capital, if folks want to take and learn more about Grow by Joe, where do they find you? Where can people see you? Websites?
Yeah, absolutely.
Social?
Yeah. So if you want to check out my company's National Business Capital, so you go right to nationalbusinesscapital.com. And if you want to follow me, you can check me out it's Grow by Joe. You can follow me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. Those are really the best places to follow me at. And I'm constantly sharing things I'm doing, content, things that help you grow yourself and your business. You can access the capital, get connected with my team at National Business Capital, and you can have a quick phone call with them. They can kind of talk through, understand what your need is, your opportunity in your business, and they'll help explain, what options you may have available. We're not a salesy organization. We're just here to help you, grow and explain what's out there.
Good stuff, Joe. Thank you, my friend, for your time, for hanging out with us. It was almost an hour that went really, really quick, my friend. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Josh. It was great talking to you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Good talking to you, man.